Hello, my name is Dorcey. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Southern California. I wanted to share a time with you serving on my year with Net Ministries where I experienced God in a very powerful way. This was on retreat sometime in November, and I was leading a small group, and there was one particular young man in this small group who was very closed off. He wasn't very open. He wasn't really talking much, and he'd hinted a couple times that he was not interested in being confirmed, nor was he even really interested in being a part of the church at all. Later in the retreat, at a time of prayer at the end of retreat, I went to pray over this particular young man, and just putting my hand on his shoulder, he kind of turned around, and I noticed that he was crying. And I asked him if he needed to talk, and at first he said no and turned back around, but as I went to the next person, he kind of caught me, and he said, yes, please, let's talk afterwards. And so after our time of prayer, he, myself, and another guy from our team went over and we heard this young man talk. And he told us about how he had gone to the school we were doing the retreat at. So this young man was in 10th grade now, but he had gone to the elementary school where we were doing the retreat at as a young man. While he was going to elementary school there, it turns out that he was bullied. And he was bullied to the extent where he was actually punched one day. He was punched in his left eye. And this blow to his eye had actually left his vision obscured. And so he couldn't see very far nor very clearly out of his left eye. And he blamed the church for it because, in particular, there was one teacher who allowed this to happen. And it sounded like, from his perspective at least, kind of encouraged it or definitely didn't do anything to prevent it. So because he'd experienced this at a Catholic elementary school, he had a lot of hate towards the church. It was during this retreat, during this time of prayer, where he came to realize that it wasn't the church that had affected his vision, that had hit him even, but it was just one young man who was negligent at the time. And he came to the realization that, I don't have anything against the church. And so he actually, in that moment, became okay being confirmed, which was beautiful. And in that moment, the Lord also healed his vision. So he was looking down, crying, and when he looked up and opened his eyes, he could see across the room. And as he was recounting this to me, he was crying again because it had been so many years since he could actually see clearly out of his left eye. And he was very moved by this experience. He didn't really know what to think at the time, but it was very obvious to me that the Lord had healed him. So it's beautiful. Oftentimes in the gospel, Jesus heals someone of their sins. He says, your sins are forgiven, sin no more. But then he also does a physical healing, and that's exactly what took place here. While this young man's vision of the church was obscured, that was healed. And so too, his actual vision was healed beautifully by the Lord. And what a powerful tale of just the Lord being so alive, especially when it seems like nothing is happening in a youth's life. Nothing is happening here on this retreat, but the Lord is always working. And really, to put the Lord in the box, to limit him to a certain degree of working or something happening is silly, because the Lord is always working in a powerful way. Thank you.